Alright, so I just got finished watching Microsoft's E3 2017 press conference, and I have a few thoughts on the matter. The big elephant in the room, of course, was Project Scorpio, this new Xbox that'll run games at 4K. They finally have given it a name, Xbox One X. I think that's an okay name. But the console itself is just riddled with problems in my mind, in the same way that the PS4 Pro is. Of course, it is a lot more powerful than a PS4 Pro. The PS4 Pro I see as a half measure, whereas this seems like almost a generational console leap. According to Microsoft, this console will run games at true 4K resolution, none of that 1440p upscaled nonsense that goes on with the PS4 Pro. Now, spec-wise, the specs for this console have been all over before this E3 press conference, but I believe, last time I checked, it's 85% the power of a 980 Ti, so it's already last generation in terms of PC stuff. But of course, it is a console, so games are going to be optimized for it. But that begs the question. I feel like the Xbox One X and the PS4 Pro, even more so, are all of the problems of PC gaming with none of the benefits. With a console, the main thing is that it can be less powerful than an equivalent PC and run games better because the developers are optimizing for just one set of hardware, or in the case of, you have PlayStation, Xbox, just two different sets of hardware that are similarly powered. Now you're introducing a whole fucking can of worms. So if you're a cross-platform developer, think of all the shit you have to worry about now. You got to optimize your game for PC, which most developers don't care about. You got to optimize your game for PC. You got to optimize your game for the base PlayStation 4, for the base Xbox One, and now for the Scorpio and the PS4 Pro. That's 5 fucking devices you have to think about. And that's a big fucking deal, man. That's really when developers already don't have a handle on optimizing games. Now they have 2 more consoles to fucking worry about. And make no mistake, with the Scorpio, since it is more powerful by a huge margin than the PS4 Pro, it's not like the difference between optimizing a game for PS4 and the base Xbox One. It's just it's a real mess, and I don't know how the gaming industry is going to cope with this shit. The one silver lining is that Microsoft seems to be a lot more militant about developers introducing upgrades than Sony is with their PS4 Pro. Almost every new game shown off, it's like, this is going to run at 4K, this is going to run with HDR, and they did say that there will be some kind of feature on this Xbox One X that is equivalent to the boost mode on PS4 Pro, but it sounds like it's going to be a lot more substantial and work more frequently than that boost mode. And the one thing they revealed at the end, they just kind of sprinkled it in at the end, the pricing of this console. It is $499 US, which is a hefty price tag. That's the price of the original Xbox One at launch when it was forced with the Kinect bundled with it. Now it's not $600. It's not PlayStation 3, price tag of doom, but $499 is really fucking expensive, and I don't think Xbox doesn't have the momentum going with them. Most people are buying PlayStation 4s. So you're fighting a real uphill battle. When a normal person goes into a store or goes online and they're making their purchasing decision, they're not going to know that the PS4 Pro isn't putting out real 4K. They just see, oh, PS4 Pro, 4K. They don't know it's 1440p upscaled. And that PS4 Pro is $400, is $399, and the price is, going to be dropping by this holiday season. So I don't know how things are going to pan out sales-wise for the Xbox One X. Microsoft is going to be really aggressive with this console. And the other thing is, you can have this powerful console, but does it really matter unless you have the games to go with it? And that's where the kind of disappointment in this E3 press conference begins, with the games. There were a lot of games shown off, but really only one game that I thought was interesting, something that I got excited about. The first thing they showed was Forza 7, Motorsport 7, not Horizon, just plain old Forza driving simulator, very realistic, very straight-laced. And predictably, these Forza Motorsport games, it's like an NFL game or a sports game. It's just the same shit with minor upgrades every time on a 2-year release cycle. Nothing to see here. But then they went ahead and did what is becoming like a Microsoft tradition of revealing a new car on the E3 stage, which is the most bizarre fucking thing to me. I really don't think anyone watching this, well, the majority of people watching this, give a fuck. Now, I really like cars. I love cars a lot. Not race cars. I like production cars, okay? And last year, Microsoft had this partnership. Well, I don't know if it was last year. It was pretty recently. Microsoft had this partnership with Porsche to finally put Porsches in the Forza games. And I love Porsche as my brand. Okay, that's my favorite car brand. And I was so excited when they put them into Forza Horizon 3. So Porsche is going to be in this game too, and they decided to reveal a Porsche on stage, and it was a 911 GT2 RS or something like. Was it a GT2 RS? I think that was the name of it. It was one of those 911s where they strip out everything, like they take the air conditioning out and they take like the door handles out and replace them with cloth. It was one of those 911s. I'm not really into those, but I know what Microsoft's doing. They're trying to win me over by putting Porsches on stage, and it's not working, okay? I know this is a video games press conference. Why are we revealing cars on stage? Then the next game they showed, this is as excited as I'm going to get the entire fucking video, all right? Just be forewarned. They showed a brand new Metro game. Yes, Metro, the post-apocalyptic survival game inspired by the Russian novel series. So the original Metro game, I have kind of a history with these games. The original Metro game, I had it on Xbox 360, and I played like 3 or 4 hours of it, and I just never got back to it because it just became hard to play. It didn't run so well on the Xbox 360. And then, over the years, I just never came back to it. And then Metro Last Light came out, the sequel. And then finally the Reduxes came out, and I got those on a Steam sale a while back. So then, over the winter, I came back to these games, the Redux versions, played through them, and immensely enjoyed them. They were fantastic. I blew through them in like less than a week, and when I was done, I'm like, man, I wish there were more to these games, but the Metro Last Light kind of had like a somewhat of a conclusive ending, and these games came out a long time ago, so I'm like, oh, there's really probably not another game coming out. Nope, they've got a brand new fucking game, and it looks fantastic. Visually, this game looks like what Fallout 4 looked like when I was like fantasizing about it in my wildest dreams before it got revealed. The game looks stellar, and Metro Last Light Redux is still like a benchmarkable game that can bring a PC to its knees. So a brand new game that's not a remaster, this shit is going to be taxing. The trailer became a little out of character because they had, the old E3 big monster at the end that screams into the camera. They did that. It was a little bit uncharacteristic of the Metro games, quite frankly, but I know that they're just doing that for advertising purposes. And the interesting thing about this game, it's called Metro Exodus, and at the end, he kind of, you play as the same guy. It was, what was his name? Artyom. You play as Artyom again, and he jumps onto this train at the end, and they're getting as the name Exodus would imply, Artyom and all of his gang, they're getting the fuck out of the Metro. They're leaving the Metro, which is an exciting thing. I think this game's gonna be like Cabernet of the Iron Fortress, fucking Metro Russian edition. So Cabernet of the Iron Fortress, it's like this apocalyptic anime, and they're traveling on this train trying to get somewhere. And this looks like this game's gonna be. The train's gonna have to make stops on the way to wherever the fuck it's going, which is morbidly fascinating, because the thing I found so great about 2033 and Last Light were all the unexpected like hooks and interesting places the game would take you to, and it actually delivers on having those places be interesting. Like when you ran into the Nazi bases, the communist bases. It was so fucking fascinating and so interesting. I don't know where the train is going in this game. I guess that's going to be part of the mystery and the fun of playing it. But, I hope it goes to maybe it'll go to Europe or go to China. It'd be really interesting to learn about the outside of Russia world in the Metro universe. So I'm very excited for this game. I guarantee you it'll be fucking good. Release date is sometime in 2018. Can't wait. Directly after Metro, we got a first look at the new Assassin's Creed game, Assassin's Creed Origins, and as leaked, as reported, takes place in ancient Egypt, which is an interesting setting. I like ancient Egypt. This might be the Assassin's Creed game that gets me to recontinue my tradition of playing them every winter. I kind of stopped. I used to play every game. Let's be clear, I never thought that the Assassin's Creed series is like worthy of praise or anything. It's just kind of like a junk food tradition, like just eating junk food over the holiday. I would get the new Assassin's Creed game and power through it, have a decent time. But I stopped playing them when Unity came out. I didn't play Unity, and I didn't play Syndicate. I think Syndicate was the British one, the most recent one. But they took some time off, and they're coming back with Origins. It looked kind of interesting, but then when I saw the combat, the reality set in. That's like, yeah, this is Assassin's Creed. It's the same shit same shit, different day, different coat of paint. Now this is an interesting one. I'm sure you've heard of the game PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds, the battle royale game that's been making waves on PC, has completely taken over Twitch streaming. Everyone's playing this game on PC. It's on Steam Early Access. I myself have been playing the hell out of it. I've played 41 hours. I finally won my first solo game, which was just exhilarating to do. The game is fucking fantastic. I've played 41 hours, okay? And it feels like I've barely touched the game. I feel like I don't even know anything about the game. That is the mark of a good fucking game, and it's in early access, and it runs like shit. And I'm bitchy about that sort of thing, and I still play the game and don't complain. It's coming to Xbox exclusively, or at least exclusively for a period of time, which is kind of interesting. I don't know how it's going to run, if it's going to come out like early access, how that's going to work on Xbox, but I'm sure Xbox fans that don't have a PC are going to be happy about this one because it is such a popular game. Now we begin the descent, where this press conference kind of gets boring, bad, uninteresting. First off, we get a closer look at State of Decay 2. The first game was a surprise hit, but if I didn't know that, this game would look like absolute dog shit to me, and I would think it's trash. It looks stiff, it looks kind of boring, but the first game was, again, a surprise hit, so I guess people like it. I'm not gonna, play this game. This next one, the Darwin Project, they showed this for like 2 seconds. They had a guy come out on stage, started screaming his head off, like live casting, shout casting this match of this low poly, boring looking fucking game. Looks not good. Don't recommend it. Probably not going to sell. Probably going to be a free to play game. Just in case you forgot, Microsoft bought Minecraft for like $1 billion or some insane price tag like that, and they have to remind us about it at every possible occasion. They bring out Minecraft. Oh boy, guess what, guys? Minecraft in 4K. Woo! Honestly, I hope they're making a killing off the Minecraft purchase, because from an outside perspective, it's brought them nothing but embarrassing YouTube compilation videos. Black Desert Online, which is a PC MMORPG game. It's one of those Korean MMOs. Has really good graphics, but I gave it a try when it went on Steam and was for sale for $5. Gave it a try like 2 weeks ago. I thought it was kind of bad, and my reference point is Final Fantasy XIV, which I played like 100 hours of a few months back, like over the winter, over like fall winter period. I played like 100 hours, and when I started playing Black Desert Online, I'm like, I would rather play Final Fantasy XIV, so I don't recommend Black Desert Online if you're an Xbox player. Then Microsoft decided to show the pirate game by Rare that they showed last year. They decided to show it for what felt like an eternity. It's this low poly pirate game. I think it's like shared world, kind of like a pseudo multiplayer game. One of these like kind of like Watch Dogs when you can invade worlds. It seems like it's like that. It looks fucking terrible. But at least Rare is making games that aren't Kinect games. I'm just not sure why Microsoft is given like the green light, because Microsoft is paying for this. This is like a Microsoft investment right here. Do they really think anyone's gonna buy this shit? I don't see. Now, I don't sell video games, but there's a lot of games here. This is one of them where I'm like, why would you pay to have this made? Like, as a business investment, why would you pay to have this made? Who's gonna play it? Who's the target demographic? How many copies do you plan to sell? Oh, this one's good. Cuphead. Finally coming out September 28th. It's one of these indie games. It's like the only indie game that ever piqued my interest in the past few years. It looks like an old school like cartoon. It's got like a little bit of like a weird occultish like devilish edge to it. Really cool looking game, but they've been showing it for fucking ever now with no release date in sight, and now finally September 28th coming out, but might be too little too late because there was like real buzz and excitement for this game like 2 years ago, but I don't know if that's still there now. I'm still really excited to play it. You can expect me to maybe review the game as well. First look at Crackdown 3 gameplay. Terry Crews is playing the main character here. He had a funny little intro live action bit where he kind of did the Old Spice commercial style of like screaming and being funny like that. I'm like, oh, okay, this looks like it has some personality. Then they show the actual game. Looks like a fucking indie game, man. This really disappointing. So I don't think it looks so hot. We'll have to see how that pans out. This next game really rubbed me the wrong way. It was called Ashen, and I wrote some notes for this game. They showed this big like torso boss thing, and I looked at it and I said, I know what that is. That is High Lord Walnir from Dark Souls 3. I played that game last year and reviewed it. I would know. So this is a nice little Dark Souls low poly rip-off game, an indie, artsy game. They even call it Ashen, which if you played Dark Souls 3, that was like the whole gimmick of Dark Souls 3 was to become kindled and light the fire. You're the Ashen one. So they're not even like fucking toying around. They're just coming right out with it's like, yeah, it's a Dark Souls ripoff. They showed some rolling, the combat. It's just Dark Souls. I've seen some indie devs on Twitter whining about people criticizing what people are calling Souls-like games, but I would just say to them, fuck off, man. Why are you making this shit? What's the point of making the same fucking game, but doing it worse, less interesting, with like this derivative low poly art style that's quickly replacing the pixel indie games of old? Then there's this Shadow of Mordor sequel. It's called like, I don't even know what it's fucking... I'm not going to pretend to care about it. I have tried to play through Shadow of Mordor so many times since its release that it's not even funny, and I can't get past like the first 4 hours of the game. It's just so fucking boring to me. And I'm convinced, because of that, I'm convinced that the original game Shadow of Mordor was like memed into popularity because the combat is so boring, so bland, so lifeless. It's less engaging than Assassin's Creed. And this game here is continuing the trend. The graphics look fucking identical. It looks... You could have told me that this was like a DLC or an expansion pack. I would have believed you. The big new change to this is that in Shadow of Mordor you had like another person living inside of you, and he could like get information and mind meld people. And now in this game you're able to dominate people and turn them into your own personal slaves. So instead of slaughtering the orc generals, you can enslave them and they'll give you information. I'm not interested in this game. Please tell me down below if you like this game a lot, because I'm not sure why it was so popular in the first place. It just baffles me. Ori and the Blind Forest, you guys remember that one? The indie game, the 2D side-scroller that won best visuals or like best art of the year over Bloodborne at the Video Game Awards. Yeah, that game. People liked that one. I never got around to playing it. It's getting a sequel. I guess indie games are now subject to sequelitis as well. And there were a bunch of other indie games sprinkled in that I didn't even find to be interesting enough or offensive enough, on the bright side, to be worth mentioning. There was like a Cyberpunk one. There's all kinds of bullshit. So they had two more interesting... We got two more things on the fucking agenda here. Original Xbox backward compatibility. Cool. That's nice. But I looked at some numbers. Like I saw this like article about how few people use Xbox 360 backward compatibility. And I can attest to that. I've used it like once for 5 minutes, and I'm like, oh, this is cool. This works. Never used it ever again. But at least it's a nice gesture. It shows like, hey guys, we give a fuck. We're not just gonna take all your money if you want to play an old game like Sony does with the PlayStation Now, with the streaming the games. It's like you have the game, just pop it in your Xbox One. It's a nice gesture. For original Xbox, it might be a little bit more useful because those games are so old, and there might be some games that's like, oh, I never played that, I want to come back to it. My only question is, can I literally pop in like my old original Xbox games? Because I have an original Xbox collection. Can I pop them in to my Xbox One and play the game, or do I have to buy the game again? I don't know how that's gonna work. Because man, I have a like hankering to play some Arctic Thunder on my original Xbox, some SSX Tricky. I've been like toying around with the idea of pulling out my original Xbox again, so this might make that a little bit easier. The big reveal at the end of this conference was a brand new game from BioWare, the people who brought you the wonderful Mass Effect Andromeda last year. I hope in the time since they've made that game that they've learned how to properly model human faces, because this new game, Anthem, doesn't have much going for it in my opinion. The first thing, when it was shown on screen, the first thing that screamed out at me, you see this giant robot dinosaur, you see this kind of old world aesthetic mixed in with that, with this little village, and you look at it and you say, that looks like Horizon Zero Dawn that I played earlier this year, that kind of good game on PlayStation 4, which is what this game fucking looks like, man. The world, the way it's like overrun with foliage, and then you have like these robotic monsters. Now the main enemies seem to be some kind of alien race. They seem to be that seems to be ripping off like Destiny a little bit. But the overall aesthetic of the world, very much reminiscent of Horizon Zero Dawn. The gimmick here is that you fly around in Iron Man suits. I mean, that must have been the gameplay pitch. Like, hey, you guys seen the Marvel Iron Man movies? Why don't we make a game where, like, you can be Iron Man? That's what, it's literally that. It's literally Marvel's, like, Robert Downey Jr., the way his Iron Man suit works in the movies, that is exactly the way the Iron Man suits work in this game. Gameplay-wise, it just looks like another one of these like pseudo open world, like lifeless kind of games with some loot drops. Format very similar to Mass Effect Andromeda. You know exactly what to expect when you're getting into this game. Like, I know what this game, like, I would review it. It would get like a 5.5 out of 10 or like a 5 out of 10. I'd be like, this game looks nice. It's boring though. The characters are lifeless. The world is derivative. It's just like you can see everything that this game has to offer by just looking at this little gameplay bit. It's the kind of idea that probably shouldn't have left the ideas board, because like I said, some guy probably said, yo, let's make a game where you can be in the Iron Man suit. That'll be really dope. I do feel a little bit bad. Apparently this is this should be like the main BioWare team's game, because the people who worked on Mass Effect Andromeda, the beauty that was Mass Effect Andromeda, though that was like kind of a B team or a secondary team, this is the primary studio, so this is what they've been cooking up. And I feel a little bit bad for them. First, they've got the blunder of Mass Effect Andromeda. That's like a stain on their legacy. And then you've got Horizon Zero Dawn, that I assume that this game was in the works before Horizon Zero Dawn was revealed, or at least I would hope, because then it would just be an unabashed ripoff. But if it's really the case that it's just a coincidence, I feel a little bit bad. It's like, because everyone's going to look at this game and be like, that's Horizon Zero Dawn. This is ripping off Horizon Zero Dawn. Now, just some final closing thoughts. If I were to rate this conference on a scale of 1 to 10, I would give this conference a 4 out of 10. Below average, not very good. The only exciting reveal here was, for me at least, was Metro Exodus, which is going to be a cross-platform game. I'm going to play it on PC, and I should mention, all of Microsoft's exclusives are on PC as well, so I thank you very much for that, Microsoft, because I don't want to buy a fucking Scorpio for $500. It's not happening. Microsoft has put themselves in a weird place. They have this $500 console that is powerful, I'll give them that, can at least run games at 4K. Obviously, it's going to run them at 30 frames per second, or as I like to say, 60 frames per 2 seconds. Makes you feel a little better. But they have no, like, big killer games for it. Their big, exciting, like, AAA game, Scalebound, they canceled that shit. They didn't show Halo 6 here. No Halo in sight at all, which is kind of weird. I guess they're rethinking their strategy on that, maybe, because Halo 5 didn't sell so well. But, oh yeah, this is like the knife in the fucking back of this conference. So Halo 3 is going to be 10 years old, which would make it ripe for a 10-year anniversary remake, like they did with Halo 1, with Halo 2. No Halo 3 remake, not happening. And I guess I should have known that because on Reddit, 343 Industries, like developer, someone that works there, said like, "Shut the fuck up. We're not making Halo 3 Anniversary." But I thought it's like, well, they always say, "Oh, we're not doing that," and then they do it because it's like, how hard is it to make a Halo 3 Anniversary? Just make someone like me happy. They want to play the 10-year-old game. Make them happy. Master Chief Collection was a big letdown. Don't want to play that. Give me Halo 3. Put it on PC. Call it a day. Make $60 off of me. No, they're not going to do it. So, fuck you.